Welcome, everybody, to a special edition of All In with Art Stapleton, a New York Giants podcast brought to you by NorthJersey.com and The Record. We are in Indianapolis, the Scouting Combine, the center of the NFL universe for the next week or so here in Indiana, heading out to the Midwest. I am now in my hotel room, the lovely JW Marriott in downtown Indianapolis, the hotel that was built for Super Bowl 46. Giants fans, you may remember that Super Bowl. I know it seems like forever ago, but that was when the New York Giants beat the New England Patriots for the second time in 4 seasons to win their 4th Vince Lombardi trophy. So there's always good memories here for me. That was the first Super Bowl that I ever covered, and I stayed in this hotel that, yes, was built for the Super Bowl, overlooking the downtown Marriott, which is where the Giants stayed that year. That was Tom Coughlin's favorite hotel. Got to know the manager, and every time the Giants came for a game here in Indianapolis, after that, Tom Coughlin insisted that the Giants had to stay in the downtown Marriott. And to this day, the New York Giants and their personnel are still in that hotel for the Combine. Now, if you think you're going to show up here and try to track down Joe Schoen and Brian Dable in that hotel, because part of the Combine is the after-hours effect, and that's a lot of reporters hanging out in hotel lobbies and the bar scene trying to meet up with NFL executives, catch a coach, catch a GM, someone walking through. It's not as salacious as it may sound, but there's really 2 different worlds here at the Combine. And, we are here from Monday through Friday. We will get the lay of the land tomorrow. Starting on Tuesday, the GMs and select head coaches will speak at the podium. You know, those shots that you always see where you've got the Combine backdrop and you see people kind of delivering their state of the organization messages. Joe Schoen will speak 10 a.m. on Tuesday. We've got a special show for you on Tuesday. I'll hit on that in a second. But as I mentioned, then the prospects start. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we will be here. Wednesday starts right off the bat. Penn State star, potential number 1 pick, maybe a pick for the Giants. Abdul Carter. He is right off the bat, 8 a.m. on Wednesday morning. So we'll have Abdul Carter. We'll try to get some video to be able to post to NorthJersey.com and to have as part of All In. And we'll see how that goes. Then, so Wednesday for media interviews, the D linemen and the linebackers, both outside and inside. Then Thursday, DBs, safeties, and corners. Thursday morning, Travis Hunter, Heisman Trophy winner, another possible draft pick for the New York Giants, sitting at number 3. He will speak on Thursday morning to the assembled media. Then Friday, quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers. The main event on Friday, Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, both speaking at 9 a.m., can't split myself, so I will more than likely be at Shedeur Sanders' podium, and then we'll catch up on everything that Cam Ward has to say. Part of the reason for that, I know some of you see my mock draft, see things that have been written and talked about over the last month or so, and it's, why are you a Shedeur Sanders guy? Well, part of it is Shedeur's in the news. Cam, not necessarily laying low, but I met face-to-face with Cam Ward at the Heisman Trophy press conference back in December. I've yet to be face-to-face with Shedeur Sanders. So that is the appeal for me on Friday, to kind of see how Shedeur handles the spotlight. He did presser in Frisco, Texas at the Shrine Bowl. Now Shedeur will be here this week meeting with teams. Now, I mentioned the idea of how it's 2 different worlds at the Combine. That's the morning and afternoon session. That's for the media in the afternoon. Now, teams are having interviews and formal meetings with prospects all week. They start when each position group arrives in Indianapolis. Some positions arrive earlier than others. It used to be strictly a day before they speak to the media, they arrive in Indianapolis. That's not necessarily the case anymore. So that's the way that progresses. So you're going to hear guys meeting with teams. The bottom line is all of these top prospects are going to meet with the Giants. It's just a matter of when they do it and if any news comes out of it. And you're going to see on social media, there are some reporters who say, why do you care if someone's out? Of course they all meet with teams here. So asking Shedeur Sanders if he met with the Giants, well, he's going to meet with the Giants. That's true. But 2 years ago, Kayvon Thibodeau, when he was asked if you met with the Giants, he said yes last night. And then he gave an anecdote and a story about being in the meeting with the Giants and how hard the Giants were on him. And lo and behold, a month and a half later, Kayvon Thibodeau is a Giant. So there are never any dumb questions to be asked. And the reality is that kind of goes on here. All of that said, the behind-the-scenes stuff that goes on. You've got teams talking to teams talking to agents. Free agency is starting less than a week and a half. March 10th, I believe, the legal tampering period begins. Then March 12th, I believe, is the first day of the league year, and that's when free agency truly kicks off and all the deals become official. You've got the Matthew Stafford situation with the Rams. They will talk here, the Rams and Stafford's people, not the Rams and the media, because they're not here. They are one of the teams that do not send their head coach or their GM here. So Sean McVay and Les Snead are kind of working behind the scenes. And that will be a big topic this week. And what I'll say on the Stafford thing, before I get to my mock draft that published today on NorthJersey.com, our first Stapleton mock draft 1.0, we'll get to that in a second. But when it comes to rumors, you're going to hear a lot this week. You're going to hear a lot about Matthew Stafford. You're going to hear what he wants. You're going to hear the Giants are interested. You're going to hear there are other teams interested in Matthew Stafford. The reality is, until Matthew Stafford and the Rams say they are breaking up, you can't truly consider Stafford to the Giants as this is going to happen. Now, I know you're hearing from other people who say it's going to happen. That's my prediction. And so until Stafford and the Rams break up, it's just a plan. It's plan A, plan B, plan C, whatever you're talking about. Me personally, I think the only way the Giants trade for Matthew Stafford, if he's asking for $50 million a year, is if they use void years to defer the salary cap costs down the line. And that's something that Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles have mastered. They use void years. And what that does is it does not get you out of those salary cap hits, but it lessens the salary cap hit in one specific year. So if Matthew Stafford signs a 2-year, $80 million contract with the Giants, an extension, you can add on void years after that. So let's say $80 million. If you add on the 2 years plus 3 void years, then it's $80 million divided by 5 for the salary cap hit rather than $80 million divided by 2. So instead of costing the Giants in salary cap space $40 million this year, Stafford, quick, do the math, is 1/5 of that. So it's one of those things where, me personally, I still think, and I've said all along, the Giants will sign a quarterback and draft a quarterback. And if it's Matthew Stafford, it brings in a gray area of what they will do with the rookie scale. Will they draft a Shedeur Sanders or a Cam Ward, even though they sign Matthew Stafford to a contract? It's debatable. And I'm sure Joe Schoen will be asked that, and I'm sure Joe Schoen will sidestep that. But the way I'm looking at it is that if you're going to make a commitment financially, salary cap wise, or as your team, if you're going to make a commitment, you know what? Quarterback's not a bad position to double down. Now, it's going to cost you a lot in cap space for the veteran that comes in. But I'd rather have a veteran who can come in, stabilize things, and let the rookie come along at his speed. Now, again, do I want to pay $40 million for a backup? No. But if I draft Shedeur Sanders at 3, then you can make the argument that if he's ready, then you do what you got to do. It's a lot of speculation right now. I don't think it's an easy thing. I think there's a lot of information that's out there. I know people have talked about Chad Hall, and the hiring of Chad Hall as assistant quarterbacks coach happens to be the brother-in-law of Matthew Stafford. His sister is Kelly, who is married to Matt Stafford. What I'm going to tell you is that in 2022, when Brian Daboll got the head coaching job here, Chad Hall worked on Daboll's offensive staff in Buffalo. He wanted to bring Chad Hall. Buffalo blocked the interview, did not allow Chad Hall to leave. So this relationship existed before Matthew Stafford became a possibility. Now, would it hurt that Matthew Stafford's brother-in-law is on staff? If Matthew Stafford became available and had to choose between Giants and somebody else, if he was given that option by the Rams, well, maybe that does end up helping. So that's where we're at. Let's get to the mock draft. Tomorrow, I didn't say tomorrow's show. Before I go to the mock draft, tomorrow's show, we may add to it, but right now we're going to try to work on reaction from Joe Shane, see if we can get some video for the podcast of Joe Shane. And then Dane Brugler of The Athletic will sit down with me around, late morning, and we'll do an interview. We'll do a whole rundown of everything in the draft. We'll get you everything Dane is thinking. If you remember Dane from last year, he's one of the most respected guys out there on the draft. It's great to listen to. Can kind of break down any prospect. If there's one draft guide that you are going to purchase, if you are not a subscriber to The Athletic, and again, I don't make a habit of telling people to subscribe to things of competitors or rivals or anything else, but Dane Brugler is outstanding, and he does a draft guide that comes with the Athletic subscription, and it is called The Beast, and it is tremendous. So if you are a draft god and you need to be involved with the NFL draft, Dane is certainly somebody you probably already know, but he will join All In tomorrow. So talk to producer Paul and see if we can get that show up as quickly as possible tomorrow. And then we have some other interviews slotted. We should have Emory Hunt from CBS. We should have Connor Rogers from NBC, also SNY on the Jets side, but Connor does the overall. Not Connor Hughes, Connor Rogers. If Connor Hughes is floating around, we can pop him on too if he wants to come on. But no, in all seriousness, Jordan Reed from ESPN, we're trying to nail that down. Two opposing views, I guess, from other teams that I'm going to get. Sam Phelan, those of you, or if you're a Survivor fan, yes, Sam was the contestant on Survivor in the fall, and he finished in the finals, did not end up winning, but Sam actually covers the Titans for A to Z Sports. So Sam's going to come on. We're going to try to do that maybe Wednesday, Thursday. We'll get a little insight into what the Titans are thinking at number one, what he's heard, and then for you reality TV fans, I'm a big Survivor guy. Starts up on Wednesday night. I know Sam is big into The Traitors. That's also a favorite show of mine. Myself and my wife watch that religiously every week. So we'll talk a little reality TV as well. So tell your friends if you've got any reality TV fans. That should be a good spot. And Jordan Rodriguez from The Athletic covers the Rams. We'll try to get some insight from her regarding where the Rams are sitting with Stafford. Try to plot that either Wednesday or Thursday, so see if any news comes out and what we can do from there. John Schmelk is always a favorite of ours. I'll be on his podcast tomorrow. I believe I'm kicking things off on the Giants podcast. and Schmelk will return the favor and be on with us at some point this week. We'll see if we can pull some other guys, some of my other friends in the business onto the show, see what Mike Garofolo has going on, see if he can come on and talk Giants. I know Giants fans love Mike, as do I, so see if he can come on and lend some insight. And we'll have a couple other surprises if we can pull it off. But big week here for All In at the Combine. Myself and Paul Wood bringing it to you from Indianapolis. So let's go to the mock draft. If you haven't seen it yet, it is up on northjersey.com. Let me go through it real quick. And yes, at number 3, I ended up taking Shedeur Sanders. Cam Ward went number 1 to the Titans. Number 2 was Travis Hunter to the Browns. And then number 3 was Shedeur Sanders. Now I went Shedeur Sanders over Abdul Carter. I think I did that, right? Isn't that who went? I'm looking right now to see who went first, because I did so many of these on the Pro Football Network mock draft. Yes, Travis Hunter went second to the Browns. So I ended up going Shedeur over Abdul Carter. It's a tough call. And I have to be honest, watching the mock drafts and doing many mock drafts at this point, I'm just not sold on the other quarterbacks. And I really do believe that the Giants have to, regardless of what they do in free agency, they have to get a quarterback that they can build from and build with. And I just don't, I'm not sold on burning a second-round pick or trading back into the back end of the first half for a Jackson Dart or a Jalen Milroe, at least not now. That could change over the next 6 weeks. But right now, that's why I went with Shedeur. And I think, we'll talk more Shedeur later in the week. But I do think he's one of the most polarizing prospects I've seen here at the Combine in a very long time. So we'll dive into Shedeur later in the week. Round 2 with the second-round pick at number 34, I took Trey Amos, the cornerback from Ole Miss. I've heard a lot of good things about him. Had a good week at the Senior Bowl down in Mobile. Checked around with some people that I know who were down there, especially Giants-related, told me ball skills. He's great on the ball, can fit in zone, can fit in man, is a good prospect here to be that number 1 corner, 6'1", 190. If he works out here this week at the Combine, I've been told by several people that he's going to blow the roof off of Lucas Oil. So he's a name that could shoot up into the first round, so he might not be there at 34. I also considered some defensive tackles. This is an interesting spot in that second-round pick for the Giants. Round 3, I went to the defensive tackle. I truly believe that the Giants are going to make a play in free agency to get someone to play next to Dexter Lawrence, an impact player, not necessarily a rotational piece, but consider this as before free agency. Corner and defensive tackle are 2 of the 3 spots that I think the Giants are definitely going to make a big play at. Maybe quarterback, but I think the big play also comes on the offensive line. Maybe they make a play for a starting guard. Trey Smith of Kansas City is top of the market there. I think maybe a second-tier guy, Will Freeze from right here in Indianapolis, might be a guy that they look at. But if they make a play at defensive tackle, Milton Williams from the Eagles at the top of the market, they're probably going to wait on defensive tackle and not load up on day 2 on defensive tackle. They could. I mean, it's worked for Philly, right? It's worked for the Giants in the past. But I don't have that knowledge right now, so I went defensive tackle. He was the best player on the board. For me, TJ Sanders from South Carolina. I think he's a good run defender. I think he has a lot of pass rush skill and could step in right next to Dexter Lawrence and be an impact player. Round 4, I went to the offensive line. Holland Pierce, offensive tackle from Rutgers, impressed with his size and the way he moved at the Shrine Bowl, from what I have been told. So I think he comes in. You can mold him into a tackle. Jermaine Illuminor will be your starting right tackle. You have, obviously, Andrew Thomas. You hope he comes back healthy at left tackle. And then you need a swing tackle. I'd still look in free agency to get that swing tackle. but I have no problem taking an offensive tackle with upside like Holland Pierce, 6'8", 344. He's ascended as a player, from what I understand, every year of his career. So I look at that and I say, you know what? He's not done ascending. So I look at him and I say, you know what? I can always kick Illuminor inside if I have to play Pierce. Evan Neal, I don't believe the Giants will pick up his option this year, so this could be his last year with the Giants. I think he'll get a shot at guard, but if that doesn't pan out, the Giants could end up cutting ties with Neal altogether. That's still a wait and see. Yes, I know it's not a good look for Joe Schoen, not a good look for the scouting department with Evan Neal, but we'll get to that over the next couple months and see where Neal's fits. All right, next pick I had in my mock draft was round 4. Also, this is the projected comp pick that they should get for Xavier McKinney, 134. I went with another offensive lineman, Miles Frazier from LSU. He's a guy who's spent time up and down the line. He had 39 games at guard primarily, started at LSU. He's looked good in, from what I understand, the Senior Bowl, 6'6", 335. Look, if he's there, I'm taking him. I don't care at this point. I need some young offensive linemen to build around. And you have Jake Kubas from last year, but you've already cut ties with McKeithen. You know, not sure where Josh Azudu sits. Evan Neal may be gone after this year. So I need new blood on that offensive line. I'm bringing in these younger guys. Round 5, pick 155. I went Taj Brooks from Texas Tech. I've heard some things that Giants really liked him out at the Shrine Bowl. Sound familiar? They really like Tyrone Tracy. I think this is kind of the spot where they would look for a running back to complement with Tracy. Talk about production with Brooks. He had more than 1,500 yards each of the past 2 years. So I think in that spot, I'm comfortable taking a running back in that spot. You may go a running back earlier than that for the Giants. They just ended up signing Liddell Betts to be their running backs coach. If you remember the name, you should. 2007, 0-2 Giants go to Washington. They have a goal line stand for Washington. The ball carrier, who was tackled on 3rd and 4th down, triggered the Giants Super Bowl season all the way to 42, was Liddell Betts. So after playing a big part in the history of the New York Giants, on the other side of the ball, now he comes in as running backs coach. Yes, he did cross paths with Tyrone Tracy at Iowa, but Tyrone Tracy was a wide receiver then. He ended up transferring to Purdue and becoming a running back there, and we know where Tracy is now. So Betts comes in, the new running backs coach for the Giants. It'll be an interesting story to tell this spring when we finally get the chance to talk to Liddell. Longtime NFL veteran, has coached with Kirk Ferentz. Brian Dable has reached into the Kirk Ferentz tree now. He got James Ferentz, his son, who's here, hired another Ferentz to be on staff, and now Liddell Betts is here with the Giants. Round 7, pick 221. Familiar name for Giants fans, R.J. Oben, St. Peter's Prep, Notre Dame. I like him as a rotational player. Obviously, Roman Oben played here, a favorite of the Giants, is an NFL exec. He worked in the personnel department here with the Giants and player development. I like Oben as a rotational player to start. Move him around the line, see where he fits, get him in there with the coaches here, Charlie Bullen on the outside, obviously Brian Cox and Dr. Dre, Andre Patterson. Get him working in that room, see what R.J. Oben could become. He could also be a special teams player. And then with the final pick of the Giants, round 7, pick 248, I went to Colorado, and I got Will Shepard, wide receiver. I think there's a lot to grow in his game, and I do like the idea if I'm bringing Shedeur in. I like getting one of his talented weapons there. Maybe they grow a little chemistry together. Maybe a little bit like Daniel Jones and Darius Slayton developed that chemistry the way they happened. Obviously, the Giants have other wide receivers, but I like Shepard. I think the Giants have seen a lot of Shepard on the Shedeur tape that they've cracked and will continue to crack. So that's Stapleton Mock Draft 1.0. We will come with one post-combine on Monday. So that'll be 2.0. And then every other Monday, we will do a Giants-only mock draft between now and the festivities that are April 24th in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So that'll wrap it up for today's show. Appreciate Paul Wood always doing his part, not necessarily behind the glass, but behind the laptop screen. So Paul doing a great job. Will produce all the shows this week. So a hat tip to him. Anybody have any questions for the Combine this week? The K-12 guys, anybody have any questions, send them along. I'll answer whatever I can. But again, we're here in Indy. The next 3 days, I will be at Radio Row inside the convention center down there where the players are meeting, where we'll meet with Joe Shane and the GMs tomorrow and the head coaches. Brian Dable, for the third straight year, will not talk at the Combine. Giants believe they believe in sort of a separation of state, church and state. Joe Shane gets the offseason. Brian Dable gets the regular season to talk to the media. Brian Dable, the next time we'll hear from him publicly will be at the owners' meetings in late March. Will be after free agency, that much closer to the draft. They do the coaches' breakfast at the annual meeting, which is in West Palm Beach this year. So we plan on being there again with All In and for NorthJersey.com and The Record. So again, for Paul Wood, I am Art Stapleton. We got you covered all week here from Indy. Hope you enjoyed this show to kind of set the table for what we got coming over the next 4 days. Appreciate you being all in, and we are in our 4th year, all in too. Look forward to talking with you tomorrow, getting things rolling here at the Combine in Indy.